Artists, please make sure to write your name on the tape. In pencil, you should have an extra piece. If not, write it on the small one. Turn it over. I actually have an awesome 5th grader helping me with this weaving video today. First thing you're going to do is tie your yarn on your needle. Then you're going to very carefully pull it through. And when you weave, remember it's a pattern of over, under, over, under. These popsicle sticks, another art teacher had recommended to help push the yarn down. If you want to use them, that's fine with me. The student that was weaving with me, she said, you know, it's kind of nice, but then sometimes you really don't need it, and she uses her fingers, so it doesn't matter. Another thing I want you to realize is leave a little bit of tail. So she's pulling this all the way through very carefully. She has a little tail, and she had a great idea. All she did was take that little piece of yarn and put it on the little slits that are on the bottom. Now she's ready to weave the next row, and it has to be opposite. If you look where she started weaving on the left, it is the opposite. She was underneath that first string, then she is over that first string, and she pulls it very gently. You have to pull it very gently, okay? Then she guides it down. If you see, sometimes the yarn works, sometimes it doesn't. But the nice thing about this is it gives a little bit of space for your needle. So she does a great job of being very gentle with this. If you pull really tight, artist, then what will happen is that'll mess up the warping. So now she brings it through, and she very carefully slides it back down. Artist, you're going to see her make a mistake, and she's like, oh, Mrs. Milligan, I made a mistake and we need to redo the video. And I said, no, honey, this is perfect. I want them to see a mistake. So see how her yarn is underneath that string on the left, and she's starting under. So watch what happens, artist, when she pulls it all the way through. And she doesn't necessarily pull it all the way through, but see how she keeps pulling, she's going to lose it. So she slides it down, and she doesn't notice it yet, okay? Then she starts, and she's doing the over, how her last part was under. So now she does the right thing, and she pulls it. And I think this is when she realized that she makes a mistake. So I showed her where the mistake is, right there. So watch, all she has to do is she pulls that little bit out, and then it's the opposite pattern. I said, wait, honey, you can just keep pulling because now it's opposite. So she pulls it through, and she caught it before she made the mistake. So great way for you to look at the mistake that she made, so you can learn from that too. Show them how to do a knot, because most kids can't do a knot.
Just tie it, pull it under.
Perfect. Okay, let me zoom in. Perfect. Okay, now hold your tail. This is what they need to see. This is going to be the tricky part. Put the other tail down. There you go. You got both of them. Is that too long of a yarn? Okay. There we go. Oh, I like what you just did. That was perfect. Great idea. Artist, this is her finished project. I'm going to show you what to do at the end. You might be able to take, depending on how long your tails are, you can put the needle where it goes back through. See how I just put the head in the needle and then I brought it through a couple. That's a little difficult to do. Otherwise, you can just take the two tails that are hanging out there and tie them together, okay? And don't just tie it once, but tie it 2 times. So overlap it and then put it under, and be careful because you don't want to ruin your project. And then do the same thing. Now you're going to trim that a little bit. Now, when she weaved, what she did, and I like what she did, she had both the tails. When she ended a piece of yarn, she started a piece of yarn on the same side. I recommend this so then you can have a place to tie it. Then you go back in and very carefully trim. If you get too close to that yarn, artist, you'll ruin your little project. So now the last tail, it's too short, so I cannot get the needle to go through and do that. So I'm gonna have to tie it with that warping string. Okay, then you take off the tape on the back. Sorry, you cut the little strings first. So cut the strings, turn it over very carefully, and take off the tape on the back. And I would recommend only taking off 2 strands at a time. Artist, now you'll take 2 off at a time and double knot them, and be careful that you're not tying it too tight because it will ruin your project. Take the next 2 off, tie them together. Now you're just doing a small weaving. I didn't want to do the huge weaving so we would have time to do some other stuff. So it's a nice little way to practice weaving and have a little bookmark. When you come to the end, you're going to use that tail and tie that into 2 little knots. And then you're going to do the other side. Take off 2 pieces at a time. Okay, and tie those into 2 knots. Very gentle, remember. Now at the end, I want you to make sure that you get a piece of paper and write your name on it and your class code. Like 4M is an example of class code. And that way I can figure out how I'm going to display them for the art show. So I need to have your name with it. I tried doing the tape, and the tape was not good because it stuck to the yarn. So then you're going to take your fingers and hold a little bit of space. You don't want to cut it too close to the edge because it will come unraveled. Trim one side, trim the other. Very carefully, artist. And then after that, make sure your name is with it. You take all these little pieces of yarn that are scraps, throw them away, clean up your area, write your name and put that with that paper and set it with it, and then you can free draw.